Abbott's Wood, reflecting on what we mean by, or can be meant by, or the various connotations or interpretations of the term the other. It's often used in social science or in philosophy or psychoanalysis to denote an external relationship between you, the subject, and the other being another subject, but it's never very clearly defined. What you do find in many narratives is an account of the other as being fearful or an object of derision or spite or animosity or whatever. The kind of bifurcation within different societies and cultures is often articulated or explained as being a relationship between the one and the other. What's not clear is how that other is really established, because you can do very simplistic, and I think overly simplistic, kind of like caricatures of this by saying that a woman is the other to a man, or that a black person is the other to a white person, or that a disabled person is the other to a non-disabled person, gay person to a non-gay, heterosexual, etc., etc. Or your nation state, or your nationhood, or your tribe, or your culture can all kind of like be used to denote, demark, or define the other. But I've just been thinking about this in terms of incels and the way in which I perceive incels as marking out their terrain, as it were, of existing within the parameters of something called involuntary celibate, the other being women that won't put out, women that don't conform to the ancient stereotype of what a woman is supposed to be. But the more I reflect on that, the less satisfied I am with it, because it strikes me as like too obvious in a way and too simple. And what is more probable, or some deeper underlying possibility, I think, is the other is actually an aspect of yourself. What I mean by that is we all, in our identification of selfhood as an individual, in the process of that identification, have to mark ourselves out as different from all of our fellow Homo sapiens. By definition, we have to be separate from others in order to occupy the space of selfhood. Therefore, just the identification of the self, regardless of the content and the relationships that surround it and shape it, is a process of creating the other, the contrary, the contradistinction, the comparator. The self can only be established on the basis of the other. But if that's true, so it doesn't matter about any of the specific definitions, caste, class, colour, gender, sexuality, nation, state, tribe, none of that counts. What counts is the first step, which is the establishment of the self. Now, if this is true, then we might be able to get somewhere, as it were, in deconstructing the psychopathology of the self as a starting point rather than as the end point. The self, then, the ascription, the self-belief in, and its place within the narratives that we construct for ourselves, could be the source of the problem. Not the specific expressions of the other, but the reverse, the establishment of the self.